Happy New Year, Rosie. Nice to see you
Great
again.
to see you as well. Colleen, let's get right to it. What's the market looking like this year?
So, Rosie, here we are in the heart of the pandemic, and yet we are still in a situation where there aren't enough homes for all the buyers that are out there. And so it seems, all these people are out there house hunting, and the fact is that there are no homes to buy. This in addition to the fact that luckily we so far, thanks to you, Rosie, we are having a mild winter. I still love all your forecasts every morning. Um, it's
Mhm.
funny. Ottawa is very much a a a town, a city,
Yeah.
and especially during real estate, that the weather dictates where we are going to go.
Mhm.
And so during the colder winters, we have a tendency to not see a spring market until, you know, April, May, and sometimes even June because we've had those cold winters. But this year with the mild winter, here at our brokerage and all my agents who work here, we are seeing that the phones are ringing a lot more because it's not horrible to go outside. So that's been a big thing so far. So if the winter stays mild, we are going to see, the so-called spring market
Mhm.
come very fast. Now, of course, as well during this time, during this second wave, and as we try and figure out the new COVID rules, the Ottawa market is still taking precautions during this time. We are only allowing, the said title buyers into homes, and we are not holding any open houses. So the market is still being precautious during a very high time of buying. We are just making sure that everyone is being safe and making sure that both the buyer and the seller are being protected during a very difficult time.
All right, Colleen, let's talk about those who are ready to sell their home and they're getting set to do so. What can they do to ensure they get top dollar for their home?
Yeah, so great question. So right now, what people are thinking about is this the time to sell? Or I'm thinking of selling in the next year or two or three, and what can I do to add value? And it's absolutely a great question, and it's a question that I often encourage my clients to ask me well before they're thinking of selling. So there are many topics that we can go through. Yet right now we are often talking about one thing that often gets forgotten is first impressions. And the first impression is literally that front door and landscaping. Now, being a winter climate, there isn't a lot of landscaping that we can do right now, but it's something that you should keep in mind in the spring. So that first impression, when you are looking at selling in the next year or so, what does your front door look like? Have you painted it recently? Is it tidy? Is it bright and shiny? A big, people talk about all the time, what's a good investment? Well, a new front door can make all the difference because it is said very quickly that people decide what home they are going to buy within 90 seconds or less. So that front door and that landscaping is really, really important.
That is, we've got so much to cover, and that is a great tip right off the bat. We will be right back after the question I have for you. So you're thinking of selling your home. You want to improve it to make it, very, very appealing. What about finishing the basement? Is that something that you would advise?
I actually absolutely do. It's a great investment, and a lot of people don't finish their basement because they don't use it, and yet it is so worth it right now. Now, currently we are dealing with huge supply shortages between lumber and tradespeople. It is a difficult time for everybody at so many levels. Yet right now, people are looking to reconfigure their homes to accommodate so many different um, exercises. And so with us all working at home, we need study spaces for the kids, workspaces for the adults. People are using and turning these basement and even garages, these underutilized spaces, into something that makes sense for our lives currently, and what we see potentially being a long-term change of lifestyle. And so we are looking at even sheds and trying to find out where those gyms and yoga studios and offices are going to go. So finishing the basement will 100% get you your return on investment.
I love how you said that, picturing a basement that's unused, kind of looking unloved, and then you turn it into like a yoga studio. That could be a dream spot for a potential home buyer.
Absolutely. And it creates a space that we are all needing during these difficult times. So whether you're looking to move in the immediate future, or if you have a 2 or 3 year time frame, definitely have that conversation with your realtor. But take the opportunity to enjoy that space right now, because it is something that will gain the return in your investment 100%.
That's great advice. What about, folks who are thinking about renovating, maybe knocking down a wall and creating that open concept space that's so popular?
Yeah, so we get that, and a lot in my 12, 15-year career, we often talk about open concept, and yet for the first time in my career, I can't believe I'm going to say it, I am going to say that knocking down walls, unless you plan on being in your home for a very long time, creating that open concept is not necessarily going to get you that return. We are living in a time right now, and we expect within the near future, both in 2021 and potentially in 2022, where we all are going to have to learn how to live and study and work from home. And so breaking down a wall is not necessarily going to get you that return. Now, I will say, I understand when someone may have want to open up their kitchen a little bit to the main living space in order to have that conversation with their family. But if you're just breaking down a wall for the sake of breaking down walls to create an open concept, I would caution you to do so, because right now we are seeing both builders and people looking for homes that are more compartmentalized and segmented so that we can have a private space within our home. Heck, I'm sitting in my living room right now, which has been transferred into our home office. So people are looking for more compartmentalized spaces rather than open concept. So I caution that person who is looking to do so.
Okay, we are continuing this fascinating topic, talking about real estate. We're going to continue this after the break. Colleen's going to stay with us. You can email us right now with your real estate right now. And Colleen, we got a lot of questions in. I think we'll have time to get to about 3 here. Let's go to Virginia. She emailed us and she's asking, wondering which areas of the city have seen most buying activity this year, and where you think investors should buy in the city for best return on investment.
That's a great question. Thanks so much, Virginia. What we are seeing right now is the fact that renters can't find homes very often. So when you're looking at an investment kind of portfolio, I would encourage you to reach out to myself, my team, and talk about kind of what is your end result. We are actually having an investment information session January 19th at 7:30, just looking at the information there. So feel free to reach back out to us. But where we are seeing a lot of the growth is actually in the periphery. It's not necessarily the core. Because people are realizing, as well as Toronto and Vancouver and Montreal buyers are coming here because they no longer have to travel for their job. And so Toronto and Vancouver people are moving here and only having to go to work maybe once or twice a quarter. And so what we are seeing is a huge growth between the Canada, Stittsville, Almont, Arnprior. We are seeing huge growth in that neighborhood. But definitely it would be worth checking out our investment workshop coming up.
Okay, and Mike writes, this is a neat question as well, talking about the periphery. He wants to, I want to list my house this spring. When is the best time of the year to put it up for sale? Now, he's out in the country, apparently.
Great question again. And so I would say let's start planning now. Because what we do, I have been working with sellers. There's one seller I have out in the country, similar probably to this situation, where we knew we were going to list it this year, but we had a plan in action in October. And so I encourage Mike to reach out to realtor or myself and create a plan, because you might need a stager. You might need to get some work done in order to put best amount of money in your back pocket. It's not a matter of deciding, it's not a matter of months. It's not a matter anymore of a spring market, especially in a seller's market right now, because we do have a lack of inventory. What I tell people when they are talking about, look, I am looking to sell and I know it will be 2021, I encourage anyone to have a conversation with a realtor professional and say, what is the plan? You know, what is the plan that makes sense for you? Do you have somewhere to go? Because if you're not going anywhere until August, okay, well then we have to find out how long it will take to sell. But it's not a matter of putting a sign on the lawn. That is not what we do. We create a plan in order to put more money in your back pocket, as well as create a plan to make sure that your home shows the best in order to put the best money in your back pocket. So definitely reach out to myself, my team, or a realtor that you have in mind, and so that we can find out when is the best time to sell for you.
Colleen, this is so interesting because, you know, I think a lot of people think, well, you decide 1 minute you're going to sell your house, and truth be told, you just kind of get the sign out on the front lawn, but there is a lot of planning, and I think I want to just unpack that a little bit more. What do you and your team do when you talk about planning? Somebody comes to you and says, yep, we are committed, we want to sell our home. I mean, what's the time frame like as well?
The time frame, and it's a great question, and thank you so much, Rosie. The fact is the time frame depends on each individual. And again, it's not about putting a sign on the lawn. It's, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, whoever is in this home, where are you going to go? Well, we bought a new build and it's not going to be closed until October. Okay, so then what do they have to sell? And then we work backwards in order to figure out how long it will take to sell their home. If Mike is out in the country, but he might be on a waterfront, heck, those things are selling really quickly. And so where is Mike going to go? Because necessarily you don't want to sell first. You actually want to buy first. With my team, we have a Zoom meeting or we do a sit-down mask meeting in safe distance, and we go through the process. And with my team, we go over, it's about an hour meeting, and we go through everything that needs to be talked about. Everything from how to sell to getting my stager involved to making sure that everything is ready so that when we get our videographer involved and our photos and the whole media behind it and the social media and the online marketing, everything is done correctly. So again, for any viewer who is looking at selling at this particular year, fabulous. We need you to sell, and we need you to sell now, yet it's not about just selling. It's about just making sure that it is marketed well, that it shows well, and sometimes there is work that needs to be involved. So another example is a home that we have coming up in Canada, and it didn't sell the first time, and we had our stager come in, and we are doing some nice renovations to the kitchen, and we should launch it next week. And they will probably get more money after not selling the first time. So create that plan. Create that plan. It's really important.
All right. We have our final question for you, Colleen. It's from Sue, and she emailed us and said, We have hardwood on the main floor, but carpet on the stairs and have not updated the staircase railing. It's still a light color wood and doesn't match the hardwood. Do we leave as is or stain or paint the same as the floor? This is extra work and cost, but will not making these types of changes impact the sale of our home?
That's a great question, and I love the fact that you're thinking about that. And so I would have to see the space, but more than likely for this particular home, it might be worth simply painting the railing, depending on how long you're going to be there, right? If you are going to be there for 5+ years, then and pay for a railing that you can enjoy. Yet, if you know that you're going to sell this year, maybe look at getting a professional painter, because with handrails, they are very high gloss, and just painting it will peel off. So you may need a conversion primer. You may need to scuff. I would definitely talk to a professional about that. If you are selling, then look at painting it and or staining it. But again, talking to a professional, maybe getting a stager involved and figure out what would be the best in your home. If you have a traditional home, it might be just a black railing and white rails. Or if you have a contemporary home, maybe we're just painting the whole thing black. It depends on what your plan is, but it's a great question and one that a lot of people don't think of. So thank you for that.
Colleen, it's always terrific speaking with you. We are just about out of time. I want to thank you. Colleen Lyle of Colleen Lyle Real Estate Brokerage. That ends our Ask the